Hello everyone. Welcome to the session on disposal of fabric fullness. In this session, we will learn and practice the basic techniques of disposing fabric fullness. Techniques such as darts, gathers, pleats, and tucks. For preparing the samples of various techniques, you will require a sewing machine and an understanding of the controls and settings of the sewing machine. You would also need a muslin or cotton fabric for making samples. You'd also need your sewing kit and an electric iron with you. Let's first understand what is disposal of fabric fullness. Disposing of fullness refers to the various methods used to shape and drape fabric on the body in order to give it a better shape, fit, and appearance to garments. They also make garments more comfortable to wear, and they also may act as decoration. Now, why this disposal of fabric fullness is required? See, we need to understand that the fabric is primarily two-dimensional. That means it has a length and a width. But the human body is a three-dimensional form. It has the length, the width, and the depth. And when we are trying to drape the garments made from a two-dimensional shape, and we want the garments to fit a three-dimensional form such as a body, so it is necessary to shape the fabric to make it conform to the curves of the body. So any extensive shaping which is done to create three-dimensional form of fabric involves the control of fullness in fabric. The bust, abdomen, buttocks, shoulder blades, and elbows are the curves which require these shaping methods where, the fabric has to be, folded or stitched in a three-dimensional form to conform to the body curves. The common methods which are used for disposal of fullness are darts, and then there are dart equivalents. Under dart equivalents, the most common techniques are using pleats, tucks, and gathers. Now, what are darts? Darts are triangular folds of fabric which are sewn into the garments where a smooth fit is required and there is too much fabric to be eased smoothly in, or a seam line is not available. So darts control the shape of the fabric and allows the fabric to conform to your body. So you might have seen, lot of darts being placed in a sari blouse, because sari blouse is supposed to be a fitted garment. And wherever you need proper fitting, you need to use the darts to, take in the extra fabric fullness into stitched folds. A well-constructed fitting dart should be directed towards the body curve. It usually ends half to 1 inch from the fullest part of the body curve. So in a body, you would see mostly the fullest part is either around the bust area on the upper garment or at the hip level in the lower garment. So you would have seen darts, pointing towards the fullest area. So either they are pointing towards the bust or they point towards the hip area. So, but darts never, they end just half an inch or 1 inch away from the fullest part of the body. Another thing that we have to remember is that the well-constructed dart should be tapered so that it is smooth and it should be free from unsightly puckerings. It should be even and smooth in appearance. So there are basically two types of darts, a straight dart and a double-pointed dart. A straight dart is a straight stitching line from the seam line to the dart point. So frequently it is used on underarm of front bodice, back skirt, elbow, shoulder, back neckline. Then there are double pointed darts. Now these double pointed darts, they start from waistline and they taper in a straight line on both ends. That means they go above the waist as well as below the waist. So you clip at the widest part, and it is frequently used on princess and A-line dresses, blouses and jackets. Now the dart curves can be of two types. Either they can be curved outwards, so it gives a snugger fit. Sometimes it is used on a bodice front to make the mid-body fit snug. And the dart legs can also be curved inwards. So inward curves from seam line to the dart point is done for better fitting of body curve. And this kind of an inward curve is frequently used on lower garments such as skirts and pants. Let's look at how darts are sewn. So basically for stitching a simple dart, you just fold the dart in the center on the fold line. You do some pin basting, or you can use a even basting technique. And usually darts are stitched from the wider end to the narrow end. Now these darts have to be pressed before being crossed by another line of stitching and after the garment has been fitted. Uncut horizontal darts are usually pressed down, and uncut vertical darts are usually pressed so that the fold is towards the center front or center back. The threads of the darts have to be secured at both the ends by tying a knot by using lock stitching, or you can do back stitching on the dart seam. The standards of a well-constructed darts include: the stitch length should be appropriate to the fabric, the thread should match the apparel fabric, no creases or pressing impressions should be present on the face side of the garment, and no dimples or bubbles should be seen at the dart point. Then matching darts should appear identical in size and angle. The stitching line should be smooth without puckers or folds. Both ends of the darts should be sufficiently secured, and darts on heavy or bulky fabrics should be slashed, trimmed or balanced if needed, and then pressed open. Let's talk about the other dart equivalents. Now, pleats or gathers in the fabric can be used for the same purpose as the normal stitched darts. These are called dart equivalents. And darts can also be worked into style lines. Let's discuss pleats. Pleating is a folding and pressing technique where the fabric is folded and pressed at regular intervals to control large amounts of fabric. Pleats control a minimum of double the amount of needed fabric and sometimes as much as 4 to 5 times the amount. Pleats may be pressed down the entire length of the garment, or they may be just released just inside the seam allowance. Let's understand the various pleat types. Knife pleats. Knife pleats are also called side pleats, and they have all the edges turned on one side. These pleats generally control 3 times the amount of fullness necessary in a garment area. Knife pleats can be top stitched on the pleat edge for added crispness. Box pleats. Box pleats have 2 folds turned away from one another. The underfolds meet at the center of each pleat. The inverted box pleats are simply a box pleat turned inside out. In this case, the folds are facing each other. Now, the standards of a well-constructed pleats include that they should have a smooth, neat appearance on the outside as well as inside of a garment. They should provide ease for comfort and or design silhouette. If there are pleats on either side of the center front or center back, be sure that they are balanced on each side in relation to the area. Let's discuss another dart equivalent, gathers. Gathering controls fullness by pulling the fabric up very closely together so that it may be seamed to a smaller piece of fabric. A well-constructed gathers will be evenly distributed, they will be neatly stitched to the adjoining piece, and they'll be controlled by one or more line of stitching. So there are various methods of controlling gathers or constructing gathers. You can use 2 rows of machine basting with a slightly looser upper tension with 1 row exactly on the stitching line and 1 row above. Or you can use 3 rows of machine basting with a slightly looser upper tension with 1 row exactly on the stitching line, 1 row above and 1 row below the stitching line. There are other methods of inserting gathers in a fabric. You may use an elastic thread in the bobbin, you may use a gathering presser foot, or you may also use hand basting for creating gathers in fabric. Let's discuss the next dart equivalent, which is tucks. A tuck is a stitched fold of fabric. Tucks are primarily used for decoration. However, released tucks may be used for shaping fabric to the body. A well-constructed tuck will be neat and even in appearance. Let's understand how to make tucks. Basically, you need to mark the position of tucks with the appropriate method for your fabric. You have to first make the tucks on the fabric and then put your paper pattern on it for cutting. There are various types of tucks. The most common ones are pin tucks, which are actually small, narrow ones, which are placed right on the fold of the fabric.
I'm going to show you how to make pin tucks. Pin tucks are very close, very thin tucks. So basically what you will do is you're going to pick it from both the points and just fold on the edge. And then you have to do the stitching close to the edge because this is a pin tuck. So it will be done very close to the edge. So let me show you how it is done. So you have to place the sewing needle very close to the edge and then stitch it along the entire length of the fabric. Okay. See, this is how it appears. Iron it, and when you open it, you will see it will appear like a tag. Please cut the unwanted loose hanging threads on either side. This is how your pin tuck appears.
There are spaced tucks which have spaces between the stitching.
Let me show you how to make spaced tucks. For spaced tucks, again, hold along these 2 points. Just iron over it to give it a crisp fold. And now, instead of stitching on the edge, we will stitch it at 1 presser foot distance or half a centimeter away from the folded edge. So let me show you how it appears. This is how a spaced tuck is made. So they are a little wider than the pin tucks.
There are blind tucks which are actually overlapping the stitching on another tuck. And then there are released tucks which are not stitched the entire length of the area. They may be on the right side or the wrong side of the fabric. Then tucks may also have yarn or cord pulled through them to create a different look. So another decorative idea is to make the tucks lengthwise and then to make the tucks crosswise over the first row of tucks. So this will produce a crossed tucking effect, and this is especially nice for pin tucking or for very narrow tucks. So let's again discuss the standards for well-constructed dart and dart equivalents. See, whether you use darts, tucks, pleats or gathers, they should be composed of straight, even folds of fabrics. They should be uniform in width unless the design requires variation. The desired drain line should be maintained. The stitching at the end of the dart, tucks or pleats should be secure. Tucks and pleats should be flat and pressed in one direction or as designed, except released tucks and unpressed pleats. Tucks and pleats should be free of pressed in ridges from hidden edges and marks from basting and pins. These should hang straight and they should be even with adequate fullness. So in today's session, we learned that through the various techniques of disposing of fabric fullness, better shape, fit and appearance can be given to the garments. Please practice these techniques in your sewing projects. Thank you.